I love them. I love you. Okay. Today we're going to continue my little series about understanding the mechanics of the universe. And today it's about cause and effect and how that works and how it affects your life. So just like the energy of a computer, so we are energy. When you sit down to an actual computer, you have a physical machine through which invisible energy runs. How is that? You don't know, but it's there. You rely on it. If it freezes up, the energy's still present. When I first began on computers about 3 or 4 decades ago, they used to have this acronym that was called GIGO. What that means is garbage in, garbage out, just like us. So if the computer conks out, you replace it and connect it to the same energy. The same energy source. The computer died, the energy didn't, just like us. So how is it that we use this energy every single day, and the same energy that runs the computer, runs the porch light, runs the washing machine, and yet we don't get it that we also are physical machines connected to an energy source? So many don't even make the connection. Charles Fillmore, in his book on prosperity, says, "The fact is that the greatest discovery of all ages is that of physical science, that all things apparently have their source in the invisible, intangible ether." And Jesus said, "God is spirit." He also said, "The kingdom of God is within you," our energy source. Science tells us that there's a universal life that animates and sustains all the forms and shapes of the universe. Science has broken into the atom and revealed it to be charged with tremendous energy that may be released and be made to give the inhabitants of the earth powers beyond expression. When its law of understanding is discovered, Charles Fillmore, in the book Atom-Smashing Power of the Mind, said, "It's not important to be able to change your life, it's the learning to change your life that is most important." You see, you can't unlearn kindergarten. I don't care if somebody baps you up beside the head and knocks you out into amnesia, you will still know the alphabet, and you will still know how to count to 10. You won't know your name, but you will know the alphabet. Well, it's the same thing in spiritual understanding. Once that becomes embedded in you, then you're at that level, you get to progress to another level. So what this means is that you can never be less than you are right now, less than you think you are right now. But the key is to begin to know, really know throughout your whole being, the truth of your own divinity. If you are here on this planet and breathing, then the life of God breathed into you and animated you at birth. You cannot separate from God because it is your very essence. When you die, then the breath goes out, you expire, and you move on. So the first step in learning about your physical machine is to become comfortable with the energy that channels through you, to become comfortable with God. So start communicating with it. It's personal to you. Begin to treat, I've said this a jillion times, begin to treat the energy as though you were courting a lover. You thank it, you're grateful to it, you say nice things to it, it says nice things to you. Just be aware of that closeness and cultivate that closeness, because it is closer to you than anything in life will ever be. for it's the very breath that you take. Before we're born into a physical vehicle, this machine, we scout around for a baby body to choose that will serve the lesson that we are to experience in life. And so we find that baby body and we dive in, and then we're born, and then the breath of life comes into us, and then we begin to choose a personality that serves the lesson that we are supposed to learn, our mission on earth, the purpose. That's only a fragment of us. At a soul level, we are so much more. But this is how we facilitate our learning. We choose a specific personality to enhance our learning. And then our body, the little cells of our baby body begin to outform it. And as our personality grows, then the cells grow and outform that personality. And sometimes that energy that animates us is so secret, we hide it from ourselves. So we've designated a learning experience that will enhance our soul growth. But more importantly is the learning experience of cultivating the divine, and therein lies grace. And grace trumps karma every time. So the word karma, the word karma in its language literally means deed or act, but more broadly names the universal principles of cause and effect, and reaction and action, the things that govern all life and all purpose in life. Karma is a natural law of the mind, just as gravity is a natural law of matter. And I'm going to try to tell you who said this, so bear with me. Subramanian Swami, or something like that. So how the energy is used is causation. The effect that happens in the effect is what happens in the physical. So here you are, you find yourself here at this moment thinking, how did I ever get here? So did you ever hear this phrase, hoisted by his own petard? Well, that comes from Shakespeare. There's a phrase in one of Shakespeare's plays, hoist with his own petard, which is an idiom meaning to fall into one's own trap. The incident was that someone was going to put a bomb to harm someone else, and it blew him right up. Figure that. So in other words, hoisted by your own petard means to be foiled by your own plan. Have you ever been there? So if you feel you're in an undesired place in life, perhaps your hidden saboteur placed that bomb in your path to disrupt your focus so you wouldn't continue along that path. So the bomb has happened, and so there you go, trying to find a way around it. The good news is that you have more power than your saboteur. You have more power than you can even imagine, but the first step in finding this power within yourself is communication. Another step in the learning process is to refine your intent. Intent is like hitting enter on your keyboard of life. So always, when we have a problem and we think, well, we could choose this path or we could choose that path, and you don't know which one to take, the way to find out which path to take is to ask yourself, what is my intent? Is my intent to showboat this experience, or is my intent to serve? Truly examine the intent within yourself, and it will direct you on which path to take. You are sending magnetic energy instructions about what you want to come back to you. Intent is an action verb. When we think about cause and effect, our automatic response is consequence and karma. And we think of karma in negative terms. How many times have we heard that phrase, karma is a witch? Okay. But we tend to think of it negatively, but good can come. It's cause and effect. So let us understand that karma is a description of a process. God is never about punishment. We tend to think of God up there on a cloud somewhere as some old guy sending down lightning bolts to punish our butt. Doesn't work that way. Karma has been a pop culture term for ages, but really, what the heck is it? Karma is not an inviolate engine of cosmic punishment. Rather, it's a natural sequence of acts. Receiving misfortune does not indicate that somebody's evil or bad and that they deserved it. Doesn't happen that way. Consider this. If you fall into a well, you're going to get wet. Now, there could be any number of causes. You might have had too much to drink. You might have poor circulation and have a foggy mind. Or maybe you left your glasses at home. But you're going to fall into the well and you're going to get wet. The important part is about what did you learn from the experience? And how did you respond to it? Did you get out, dry yourself off, and move along? Or did you start cursing that rotten well and making it the well's fault? So the karma is simply the event. You trip, you fall into the well, you get wet, that's it. It's the extra things that you weave into it that causes consequence. So how the energy used is causation, the effect is what happens in the physical. Deepak Chopra tells us karma is both action and the consequence of that action. It is cause and effect simultaneously, because every action generates a force of energy that returns to us. What I believe is that we cultivate grace by our intent. I think that if our life intent is good and kind, it softens and mitigates what happens to us. But then something comes along and all your spiritual learning goes topsy-turvy. And even in spiritual understanding, in the teachings of spiritual understanding, there comes along this thing about bad things happening to good people that you can't justify, that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to share with you our own story. Some of you that attend regularly may know this. The others may not, but this is what happened in our life. Glenn's youngest daughter has owned a daycare center for 12 years. It was highly praised. She prepared the children's own baby food and food organically. She got many accolades and never one complaint. And then one day, when she and her staff went in to wake the babies, one of them had died. I can't even imagine the horror. All of us have known someone, an acquaintance or someone that's had a baby that died from sudden infant death. But what about when it's on your watch and you cause this pain for the parents? It was horrible to have to go through this with her, and she's still grieving. So she was investigated and found that everything was fine. It was just one of those terrible things that happened. But then the parents, in their grief, had to have closure, and so they filed a wrongful death suit. So Glenn and I were there with her and other family members, and we watched, and she chose to sit silently and let the parents have their day, let them have their closure. So for 3 days, we saw her sit silently, weeping, while the prosecuting attorney did what he was supposed to do, turned her into Satan, virtually. It was the most horrendous, cruel thing, saying these things that we knew not to be true. So ultimately, the case was closed, and they gave her the lightest possible sentence and still made her have a guilt. So she was charged with neglect, and the settlement was $124 million. So bad things happen to good people. And you say, how can this be? And we're learning these truths here about cause and effect. So this is what I believe, and this is what I discussed with her, that when we are still souls on the other side, choosing a way to come in to express a lesson to learn, that we have a soul contract with someone or some group, and maybe we love enough to be the villain. Or maybe there's someone, a villain in your life, that loved you enough to facilitate your soul growth. Or maybe you're part of a group that dies in a mass shooting, and you chose to go through that, and your family members chose to go through that to enlighten the public. We don't know. We don't know these things, but I cannot believe that in a logical, spiritual universe that there's not an answer for this. And this is what I choose to believe. I have read, Carolyn Myss talks about a book called Soul Contracts. We've recently had a book in book study that talked about people agreeing to come in as a cripple so that a family member can have the spiritual growth to care for that individual. So there are many things that we don't know, that we should not judge about. So, the thing that I noticed about Gina as she was sitting there is how she handled this. She sat there, she let the parents experience what they needed to experience, and she just handled the whole thing with grace. And I'm waiting to see the consequence of this grace, because I know it's coming. I'm just eager to see it, how it will take place. As long as she doesn't continue to beat herself up and bring that guilt into her body, which she has been doing for years now. But it was something to see her. But grace is evidence of spiritual growth. At some level, grace is self-engendered, not dispensed by that big guy on the cloud, even though it does come from God. But frequently, we do engender our own grace. For instance, what if a battered woman chooses, I will no longer be a victim? By that very decision, she has engendered her grace into a better life. You see? So our thoughts are also causation. But to see Gina go through that without crying foul was just a remarkable, holy experience for me. So, in the mechanics of an energetic universe, you're in control of your intent and your response. Cause and effect are more than an action and a result. You can mold the energy like a sculptor molds his medium. You can control your life that way. You have that power by the divine presence within you. You work with what you've got, and you eliminate everything that doesn't feel like God. It's easy. Everything. Everything falls into alignment as your spiritual understanding grows. So what is past was simply a learning opportunity. Make the best of where you are right now, right here, and do your best to line up your energy from where you are, because any bit of struggle, any bit of regret, any bit of resentment holds your cork under the water until you drown. And it certainly does not allow you to connect with the energy that allows the grace of improvement in your life. Thank you.